the psychopath who played every role before, taking a life who turned murder into an art. The film begins with a scene showing a woman being held captive in a basement. It turns out she is imprisoned by a deranged psychopath known as the Gemini. Without any mercy, the psychopath kills her by cutting off her head using a blowtorch. The scene then shifts to a newlywed couple named Craig Owen and Kelly Owen. Craig is a famous musician who lives a luxurious life. His house, cars, and everything he owns are extravagant. One day, his wife Kelly asks him to go to the store to buy a bottle of wine. Hearing that, Craig immediately drives to the nearest store. While there, he notices a news report about a serial killer called the Gemini, who has murdered 6 people by mutilating their bodies. The report is so horrifying that Craig can't bring himself to keep reading. As he smokes outside the store, he suddenly receives a flirty text message from a woman named Bianca. It's unclear what kind of relationship Craig has with Bianca, but he quickly deletes the message. When Craig is about to return to his car, he is suddenly knocked unconscious. He later wakes up in a basement with his hands and feet tied. Confused and terrified, Craig tries to understand what's happening. Behind him appears a man wearing a clown costume who oddly calls Craig by the name Bill. The strange nickname leaves Craig even more puzzled. The clown treats him harshly several times, and since Craig is a celebrity, he assumes the clown must be an obsessed fan. In the middle of his captivity, Craig's phone suddenly rings. It's Kelly, worried because her husband hasn't come home yet.
Kelly, Owen!
The clown then tells Craig that he knows their home address on Coral Canyon Road. Shocked, Craig demands to know how the man could possibly know where they live. Furious, Craig threatens him, saying that if he dares to harm his wife, Craig will kill him. The threat enrages the clown, sending him into a furious outburst. After repeatedly beating Craig, the clown finally leaves the basement. Craig takes this opportunity to try freeing his tied hands, but his efforts are futile when suddenly a police officer enters the basement. Seeing the officer there to rescue him makes Craig feel relieved and hopeful. However, as the officer approaches, Craig realizes that it's the same man who was dressed as the clown earlier. Once again, the man calls Craig by the name Bill. After only a few minutes in the basement, the officer leaves. Moments later, Craig's phone rings again, but he can't do anything since his hands and feet are still bound. A few minutes later, the same man comes back down, now wearing a different outfit, this time a detective's costume, and begins interrogating Craig. Completely confused, Craig stays silent. Repeatedly, the man keeps calling him Bill and accuses him of being the psychopath who murdered 6 people by mutilating them. Craig is bewildered because he knows he's not that person. From the start, he has been observing the man's strange behavior, noticing how he keeps changing outfits, and with each costume change, his personality and demeanor also shift. Craig concludes that the man must suffer from dissociative identity disorder. He also realizes that the man's real name is Bill. Craig's continuous talking irritates Bill, who then violently pulls out 2 of Craig's teeth.
I wonder. But then again, I'm not a dentist.
Bill forces Craig to chew and swallow them, threatening to remove more teeth until none are left if he refuses.
Boy, dentist.
After that, Bill leaves the basement.
No, please.
A few minutes later, he returns dressed as a prisoner, acting extremely aggressive and cutting off 3 of Craig's fingers.
In a cell the size of a bathroom. Hey. Fucking lie! It's a fucking lie! No, really? No. Yes. Look what you did, the guards are coming.
The severe wounds cause massive bleeding. Seeing this, Bill rushes upstairs and reappears, wearing a doctor's outfit. His demeanor now calm and professional as he treats Craig's injuries and stops the bleeding.
That's the last time I saw him. I know right now it seems bad, but in 6 months, we're just about there.
Once he's done, Bill goes back upstairs and returns again, this time dressed as a lawyer. Realizing that Bill likely suffers from multiple personality disorder, Craig seizes the chance to persuade him to let him go. Even after trying to persuade Bill, he still refuses to release Craig and instead leaves the basement.
My way through school.
I would've went with a pizza too. There's nothing like a good pizza.
A few minutes later, Bill returns, now taking on the role of Craig's father. The two sit and talk about their family, which is no longer as harmonious as it once was. Bill also tells Craig that his mother is waiting upstairs. Soon after, Bill goes up and brings Craig's mother to meet him, once again played by Bill himself. This time, however, Bill's demeanor changes drastically. As Craig's mother, he seems genuinely caring and affectionate, unlike his other personalities. Seeing this, Craig takes the opportunity to plead with Bill, who is currently acting as his mother, to help him untie his hands. Surprisingly, it works. Bill hands Craig a small knife, confirming that he truly suffers from multiple personality disorder. After that, Bill goes back upstairs.
Please, they're hurting me.
Seizing the moment, Craig begins cutting the ropes binding his hands and feet. Unfortunately, before he can finish, Bill returns to the basement, dressed as a prison guard. He tapes Craig's mouth shut so he can't scream. Suddenly, the doorbell rings. It's the pizza delivery guy. Unable to call for help because of the tape, Craig watches helplessly as Bill takes the pizza and brings it down to him, feeding Craig slices one by one.
I just want to go home, okay? It's just my job.
When Bill starts cleaning up the leftovers, Craig notices a tattoo on his hand, the zodiac sign Gemini. That's when Craig finally realizes that Bill is actually the Gemini, the infamous psychopath who has recently terrified the entire city. After giving Craig a bit of dinner, Bill leaves the basement again. Craig quickly uses the chance to finish cutting the ropes and free himself. Once untied, he searches for a sharp weapon to defend himself. Moving cautiously up the stairs, he finds Bill dancing and blasting loud music. Seeing an opportunity to escape, Craig tries to sneak away, but Bill catches him in the act. A brutal fight breaks out between them. Although Craig manages to stab Bill's hand, Bill overpowers him easily and knocks him unconscious. When Craig wakes up, he finds himself once again tied up in the basement. This time, Bill has taken on the role of an executioner and is preparing to kill him. Despite Craig's desperate pleas for mercy, it's useless. Known for his psychotic cruelty, Bill executes Craig by decapitating him with a blowtorch. Meanwhile, at another place, Kelly, Craig's wife, grows increasingly worried because her husband still hasn't come home. Out of concern, she decides to go to the nearby store where Craig was last seen. Kelly asks the store clerk if he has seen Craig, but the clerk says he hasn't seen him for several hours. Hearing that, Kelly steps outside and spots Craig's car still parked nearby. Her worry deepens, so she rushes back home. Once there, she immediately calls the police to report Craig's disappearance. Unfortunately, the police can't process the report yet, explaining that a person can only be declared missing after 24 hours. With no other option, Kelly calls her best friend, Bianca, and asks her to come over. Shortly after, Bianca arrives at Kelly's house. Kelly confides in her, saying that something must have happened to Craig. She's been calling him nonstop, but he hasn't answered at all. Bianca then asks if Kelly and Craig had been fighting recently, but Kelly insists that they never argued. However, she starts to think negatively. Maybe Craig is having an affair with another woman. Bianca suggests that if Craig really is cheating, Kelly should just leave him. After talking for a while, Kelly prepares drinks for both of them.
I know this is the third time I've called.
Since it's already late at night, Bianca decides to stay over. Kelly, however, can't sleep until morning, tormented by thoughts of her missing husband. The next morning, a police officer arrives at Kelly's house. It's Bill. Then comes a shocking revelation. Kelly was the one who ordered Bill to kill Craig. She had discovered that Craig was having an affair with Bianca, her own best friend. How did she find out? A month earlier, Kelly secretly checked Craig's phone and found romantic messages between him and Bianca. Since that day, Kelly couldn't accept being betrayed by both her husband and her closest friend. To take revenge, she enlisted Bill's help, who, as it turns out, is her twin brother. Kelly has long known that her brother Bill is a psychopath who enjoys killing his victims in brutal ways. She's been hiding this fact for years to protect him. In addition to being a killer, Bill loves acting. That's why he plays different roles during his murders, such as a clown, a police officer, a detective, a prisoner, a doctor, and more, purely for his own amusement. In reality, Bill doesn't have multiple personality disorder at all. After the flashback ends, Kelly points to Bianca, who is sound asleep on the couch. Kelly reveals that she put sleeping pills in Bianca's drink, ensuring she won't wake up for several hours. She then orders Bill to do the same thing to Bianca as he did to Craig. It's certain that Bianca won't survive and will meet the same gruesome fate, and the story ends there.